Welcome to the HPIN training for the Trianco Active Air Heat Pump. Trianco produce a great range of R290 refrigerant air source heat pumps capable of high flow temperatures. There are 4 models in the range, a 5, 9, 15 and 22 kilowatt variants, all working from a single phase supply. The whole range is supported by Trianco's built-in SIM, which allows them to assist in commissioning and make setting changes as required. And this is all backed up with a 5-year warranty. Remember that air source heat pumps are very heavy, so please take care when siting the unit. But once in place, ensure that you have a minimum of 300 millimeters clearance at the rear of the unit and 1.5 meters in front. And this is just to push away all that cold air. As the Active Air operates using R290 refrigerant, please don't forget the exclusion zone. This requires 1 meter all the way around the unit at ground level, and that triangulates to the top of the unit. This exclusion zone must not contain any possible sources of ignition, such as open flames, electrical items like sockets and lights, and we need to also avoid doors, windows, light shafts and cellar entrances. Air bricks should also be avoided, and whilst in the exclusion zone, there are no untrapped drains, as the R290 refrigerant is propane, heavier than air, and will always find its lowest point. Remember, the rotary isolator to power the unit must also be outside of the exclusion zone. But if it's above the top line of the unit, this is absolutely fine. The main power goes into the top grommet on the rear of the unit and is connected inside at the main power connector. The bottom connector is for comms, and I'm going to hand you over to Fergal from Trianco to explain the control wiring.
So within kit we have our heat pump interface, we have our lead that joins the interface to our heat pump, and then we've got 2 sensors that are supplied with the unit. So we've got our tank temperature sensor and our buffer temperature sensor. Okay, here we have your heat pump interface that's supplied with your kit. Now this would generally be fitted indoors, somewhere accessible so the customer can see it. They're in a cupboard in the cylinder location. Now all I've done is I've joined the interface into your extension cable, and your extension cable, this end, plugs into connection in the outdoor unit. Now with the cover removed, or the side panel removed, we can see that we've got our main power supply connections here. We've got your live, neutral and earth. On this particular unit here, or you may find in some of the units that are delivered to site, you have this additional loon. This is not necessary, so these can be removed and discarded. Okay, so here we can take a closer look at the volt-free or your sensor connections on the heat pump. So number 9 and 10 is your TT sensor, so that's your tank temperature sensor. Now, when the unit is delivered, we have a little resistor already pre-fitted in number 9 and 10. So if you have a cylinder being installed, you just remove the 2 connections here and wire in your tank temperature sensor into number 9 and 10. If you are using a buffer tank and using the buffer sensor, we would remove the resistor in number 11 and 12 and wire your temperature sensor into number 11 and 12 for your buffer control. Okay, here we can take a second look at the volt-free or the sensor connections on the heat pump. So 5 and 6 is your call for hot water, and 7 and 8 is your call for heating. So when the unit is delivered, these are linked out, i.e. they're constantly on. If you are using third-party controls to control your hot water, you would obviously wire your hot water controller into 5 and 6, and your heating controller, your demand for heating, into numbers 7 and 8.
Flow out of the unit to the heating system is the top connection, and the return goes into the lower one. Please take care not to mix these up. They differ slightly from other units in the HPIN range, as they are female connections, and we will supply the adapters for this, as well as the isolation valves and the antifreeze valves for the outdoor pipe connections. Please remember to follow the design, pipe schematics and wiring diagrams for your specific install. And we will always be on the end of the phone to assist you. Select the operation mode by pressing the mode key on the control interface and select heating and hot water. You can then set the target temperatures for both of these referring to your specific design. To start the heat pump, press the power symbol on the screen. The fan will start, followed by the unit's circulation pump for about a minute, before the compressor then begins to operate. We can then set up the controller with times, dates and schedule requirements. To unlock the system settings menu, press the locked keypad symbol and input the passcode 022 and then press the tick. Then we have entered the engineer settings. We can now set the time by pressing the top left clock icon. Within this screen, we can also set our weather compensation curve. Press the parameter icon, the 022 passcode, and then the AT compensation icon. Use the toggle button to turn the weather comp on, and then you can adjust the curve based on the design for the job you're on. So there we have it. Super simple setup, backed by Trianco's remote commissioning assistance and intuitive controls. If you have any issues or problems on site, please reach out so we can assist you with any on-site queries.